So we're back here with Spoken Substance, and today I've got Lisa Elsom, tattooist, and really hard to pin down. We've tried to arrange this interview quite a few times now, but I'm gassed. I'm really happy to be doing it. You're the first female that we've had on Spoken Substance, and I'm going to try and get a lot more. So if you know anybody, pass them my way. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been really good. I had a bit of a long weekend with my birthday celebrations.
How old now?
So I'm 30.
30.
Crazy,
Okay, yeah. Getting on.
Yeah.
Age is only a number. Where'd you go? What'd you do?
I just had a party down at the Lace Market,
Yeah.
and I have another one next week.
Oh.
And so yeah.
So I brought you on here today because obviously you're a tattooist in quite a male-dominated industry. I think that's quite inspirational in its own right. And I want to figure out, how did you get into it? What kind of path did your journey take? So let's start at the beginning. So where are you from?
So I was brought up in Newark. I was born in Nottingham, brought up in Newark. One of my first introductions into the tattoo world, I did a little design for one of my friends actually in Newark, and he took it down to the local tattooist in Newark, and I asked them if I could have an apprenticeship, and they said yes, but it wasn't really an apprenticeship. It was more like cleaning needles. I didn't do any sort of tattooing at all.
Right.
But I've always been a drawer. Like Mum said that I was drawing before I was talking. And like in school there was like, Lisa's very good, but she's always doodling. Seems to have paid off.
It's something which could be frowned upon. Like people say, oh yeah, he's great, but he's too chatty. Maybe you go on a chat show, or maybe you're a debater or a politician.
Exactly, a communicator.
Yeah. So them skills that you were using in school, where people may have not kind of seen them to be something of use, they later on in life came very useful. Yeah.
It seems to be the thing though in school, that they have these structures that they have to meet to make the school look really good, but each person is individual, and what's right for one person isn't necessarily right for the other person. So yeah. Your
job must be based around meeting loads of different individuals. You have to cater to them, and you must meet some characters, right?
Yeah, massively. Like it goes from, say, one woman who I tattoo, she's 73 years old. Wow. She's incredible. She's one of my idols. She just cracks on with things. She's like grandma of about 20 and mother of about 5, and yeah, she didn't start getting tattooed until she was 50, I think. Wow. And then she just carried on going. Yeah,
big shout out to her. It's never too late.
She's cool. That's what I mean. Yeah, age is only a number.
Like the social norm, sometimes we can break that and be whoever we want. People at home might not understand what Newark is like. I have a basic understanding of it. It's probably somewhere where I would say opportunities are restricted. There's not too much about. Was it a mining town at some point?
No, not Newark. I don't think Newark was. Like Thorsby and all places like that. Newark wasn't.
Okay.
But it's got a big gypsy community.
Yeah, I did think that.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. It's like a nice place, but some people are quite narrow-minded. Like for me, the thought of Nottingham, that was like London. I'd be like, oh, we're going to Nottingham. It was like a big thing.
Yeah, no, I work with a lot of kids who are just a little bit outside of the city, and it is a big thing for them to go to their main city. But like that would be my equivalent of going to London. Yeah, exactly. Literally like that. Yeah. So, what was your upbringing like in Newark? How did it work out for you?
Yeah, it was like my actual upbringing. My mum and dad, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
But I've always been quite a curious child. Like if I'm told not to do something, then I want to go and figure it out and see for myself. So I did a lot of that. I was getting up to mischief, being a child.
Yeah.
Did okay at school though. Did all right. Yeah.
Sometimes when you're living in a place which isn't in the main city, there's not all the things where I suppose you can go to different places. They have different opportunities, or different, what am I trying to say, like clubs or establishments where young people can be. You said young people places before. Young people places.
My young people's place was Sea Cadets. Me and my sister used to go to Sea Cadets, and it was really good fun. we had like a lot of friends there. It was something to do to keep our minds occupied. So yeah. Wouldn't say we gained that many skills from it, but yeah, it was good.
What are you doing at Sea Cadets? What's that about?
Yeah, just like rowing. We did football. We did like but like five-a-side and stuff, and it was cool because like it's just a social thing really. We used to get up to stuff with our friends, and then like because you have different districts and different. I can't remember the other one. It's like bigger than the district. County. Yeah. So then, like, whenever we'd do individual things, then we'd all come together. So all the districts come together, and then we'd see our friends who we hadn't seen for ages. Yeah, it was cool.
So it was a good meet-up.
Yeah, it was cool.
When you left school, did you have any idea that you was going to be a tattooist?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
No, I wanted to go in the Navy because I was in Sea Cadets.
Yeah.
Couldn't get into the Navy. I don't actually think I tried. I went for work experience, tried for the Navy, and I couldn't get it, so I went for work experience with the Army, and I really enjoyed it, and so I went for the Army when I left school. I was in the Army for 6 months.
Was you?
Yeah.
What, you actually went into the Army?
Yeah, the Army Foundation College in Harrogate for like 6 months, and then I got to a point where I had to sign a 3-year contract, and I was like, don't think this is for me.
Well, you lasted the whole 6 months?
Yeah. Well, it was like a longer extended period of training because they do education with the Army Foundation College. So it's a year training, whereas with like usual Army training, you do like 6 weeks or something like that. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to make my mum and dad proud, you know, when like you hear of like the Army or the Navy or something like that, you're like, oh yeah, that's a really like
sick career.
Good career, yeah. But I always knew that I'm supposed to be creative. I always drew all the time, so even in the Army, I've got like all my little sketches and stuff.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So
and
then
the Army's like the complete opposite of being creative.
Exactly. I felt really kind of restricted, and I felt a little bit depressed at some points when I was in there. Yeah, it's quite it's a lot of pressure because I was my youngest in my year, so I was like 15 and 9 months when I went in there. So
you hadn't even hit 16?
That's what I mean. For someone under the age of 16, it was a lot of pressure.
Living away from home?
Yeah, exactly. Inviting friends and well, you have your friends in there, but not your...
They're not your base friends?
Proper, your buddies from school and stuff, so yeah.
What did you learn about yourself in them 6 months?
I wanted to not be in a restrictive sort of career, mainly,
That's a big thing to learn, because then that helped you realise, okay, I gave this a go, it wasn't for me, and then you started to highlight careers which allowed you to express yourself. So how did you realise that you was going to be a tattooist? When did that come about?
Well, that kind of fell on me. I went to art college when I left the Army, but it was a similar sort of thing, like, I don't know, wasn't really hitting the spot for me, and just ended up drinking, smoking, like kind of flunked that. But the actual tattooing, that came a few years later, when I was 21.
Right.
As I said before, I liked to be quite curious and kind of got myself into a bit of a bad situation through a few years. I'd done like lap dancing on and off, and like some real kind of shady things, taken like a lot of drugs and partied and things like that, and ended up being on the wrong side of the law. And so I was spending an 18-month suspended sentence at the time, and I was living at the YMCA hostel in Lincoln. And it was then that there was a boy who had a tattoo machine in there, completely rustic, like not even black ink, he had like blue ink, like the colour blue ink. I didn't even know what to do with the needles. I was just like, yay, something to play with, like let me give it a go. And it all stemmed from then. That's when I started tattooing.
That's when it started? Scratching, which is frowned upon by a lot of people.
Completely frowned upon. And I kind of frown upon it now in a way, only because it's like really unhygienic, and like obviously it's not the right way things should be done, but then there's the side of me that kind of loves that part of it because that's where I'm from. So,
the originality of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's authentic and it's a bit rock and roll as well. So. And
I suppose you looking back now in terms of all the health and safety, you know, now running your own shop, you didn't know anything about that then. But if you didn't take that risk, if you never tried,
would never been here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you had a really kind of you had a bit of turmoil in your life. How old was you when it started?
What, the turmoil?
Yeah, when was
Kind
like
of from when I was 18.
18?
Yeah, getting into drugs. Yeah, it's a bad choice.
Bad choice.
It was a real bad choice.
I like to be honest with people about drugs, and they are fun. Like when you start to take them, the first couple of times you take them, you might even have a good 6 months, 8 months of it, but it catches up with you. You do things which you're not in control of. So, what was the first drug you ever took?
Smoked a bit of weed when I was younger. Smoked cigarettes and a bit of weed.
How quickly did that escalate to something else?
The hardest drugs that I took was from when I was 18, I would say.
Right.
So when I was like, 14, 15, 16, smoked a little bit of weed, maybe like one little drag with my friends or something. But it was when I was 18, like I said, I went into like lap dancing at one period in my life, and that was when I was 18. It was kind of then that I started experimenting with things just because of my peers, my friends that I was hanging around and stuff. Felt like I wanted to be part of it, like I was quite curious and stuff, so yeah. That
curiosity killed the cat and obviously got you into a suspended sentence.
Exactly.
What did you get the suspended sentence for?
Just being within the wrong crowd of people. I won't go completely into it because it's a very long story. Making bad choices, being surrounded by the wrong people. Yeah.
And you have to be careful of the company you keep.
Yeah, exactly.
You really do. Really do. When you got that sentence, was that the point where you decided, okay, this is enough, or was you still on the wrong path at that point in time?
No, I definitely like the whole getting arrested situation for me, because like I said, my mum and dad gave me a beautiful upbringing. So it's kind of at that point when I was like, I just felt like this awful disappointment. I just thought, what a horrible thing for my parents to have to go through, and I knew that I'd put that on them. So yeah, it was at that point. And then when I got the 18-month suspended sentence, like when I was being sentenced, because I was looking at 3 years minimum, and they gave me an 18-month suspended sentence. So I'm so thankful. But I took my sketchbook to the court with me, and I said, look, because I'd already started living at the hostel before I got my sentence. And I said, look, I really want to get into tattooing. I'm a drawer. Please, give me an opportunity to not go any further down this negative path that I'm going towards. And so, yeah, they put me on probation, which ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. It was amazing. Oh, yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was so good. The mentors that I was surrounded by, those positive people in your life that kind of send you back onto the right path, I'll always be grateful to them and thankful. So,
it's needed, and that's why I brought you here today, because hopefully there's people listening out there who may be on the wrong path, and you can't mentor everybody because you don't have time to do that, but people listening to your story, your life got turned upside down at one point, and now it is shooting back.
Exactly. You can hear it from me. I am the proof of that this works. Like, I have been at the complete bottom. Like, before I was staying in the hostel, I was homeless. I was for a short amount of time, but I stayed in the QMC flipping church upstairs, lying on the floor in some random place. Things like that, you will never forget. Things like that, yeah.
They're character building.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you're there, you think to yourself, how's this become? But to be honest, some people are thankful for them situations they've been put in, because then it builds a strong character and you can deal with quite a lot. So I always say to young people, if they're going through tough times, these are the things that are going to make you into a great person if you can use them in a positive way.
Exactly.
Don't let them define you.
I would never take any of that away at all.
Would you not?
No, not at all. If I could write a book, it would be one of the most interesting books, I think. That has made me who I am, and I wouldn't take anything back at all.
You said you felt like a disappointment to your parents. What were your parents saying at this point in time when all this was going off?
They kind of just didn't want to know, because I wasn't the daughter that they knew at this time. So they just got so sick of it. My choices that I was making in my life, they were so disappointed. I was constantly lying about things and being deceitful, and I was just not a very great person at all. So, yeah. You
said you were quite a curious person, and I believe even if you're a great parent, you could provide a young person with a brilliant life. There's a lot of curiosities out there which are going to tempt people to sway
Yeah.
onto a different path. And there's some parents that will really beat themselves up. Maybe yours did, maybe mine did, but sometimes they give birth to a certain person who's always going to be a certain way. They're always going to want to know a little bit more about life, and they're always going to venture onto something which could be a bit risky. But I always say it's a period of time. So you probably had 3 years of where you kind of went onto the wrong path, but it made you into a great person. And I think for parents out there, you just have to hold it down for a certain period of time. And usually you kind of grow up, mature out of it, and then you make better choices.
Yeah, definitely. And those things that were said to you at one age, they start to come back afterwards, and you're like,
so
oh
often,
yeah, I can remember my dad saying this to me.
and then you'll be saying them to your kids, and that is what happens.
Exactly.
One thing out there for people viewing, you said you got into lap dancing at 18. At 18, you're quite young, you're quite naive, you're quite innocent.
Very.
That must have really taken that away. What was the whole lap dancing experience for you like? Was it something that you felt was wrong when you was doing it, or was it something that you just felt you had to do to get by that moment in time?
I loved it at the time.
Right.
I loved it. Like, I don't know, it was to do with the friends that I was around, the lifestyle that I feel like I wanted to live. I didn't want to be wrapped up in cotton wool, and I wanted to go and see things, I don't know, I was just, like I said, I was really curious, and I loved that side of things. I thought it was really cool. Obviously, the whole lap dancing side of things wasn't like the best, but the whole lifestyle, the friends that you're surrounded with, I've got unforgettable friends who are still part of my life now. Yeah, so it was a strange one. Looking back at it, I can see how damaging it was for me, but in the moment, I really enjoyed it. So yeah.
And I preach from that. Some people might have not come out of that situation in the best way, but you were somebody who kind of used it. It worked for you. You managed to get yourself out of the situation, but you always take a risk by, like you said, getting into them roles which are a little bit shady. They might ruin you as a person. But with you, that didn't happen, and you can look at the positive that you took rather than the negative of actually what the job was at times. But it is a good job, it's a good career for some people, and some people do aspire to be that. And
exactly.
I'm a big believer, if be honest with yourself, if you want to be that person, then that's fine, if that's what it is for you.
Yeah.
You still do pole dancing now, right?
Yeah, it's fitness.
It's a massive industry, right?
Yeah, and it's like amazing for fitness, and it's liberating. Like I'm an advocate of that. If you're a female and you feel empowered by doing something that shows off your femininity or your strength or whatever, then do it. As long as you're not sacrificing your respect or your integrity, then that's where like it becomes a problem. So
like being at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that they do on a pole is bonkers. Like it is
exactly.
real
gymnastic
strength
stuff. Yes, I mean,
very impressive.
Yeah.
So after you got the opportunity via probation, people who mentored you, who was one of the mentors that stuck out for you in probation? What did he say to you that kind of stood you onto the right path?
Oh man, I've forgotten his name. I can see his face in my head now, but in particular, the things that he said were just supporting things, I suppose. Like being positive, just being a positive energy, and just even being able to talk to someone. Like, because obviously I'd kind of disrespected my family, so I couldn't really turn to them because I felt ashamed of myself. My friends were a negative impact on me anyway at this point. I had a partner who I had a bit of a toxic relationship with, so I could speak about everything. Just having somebody to be able to communicate with that was outside of the people that would, I don't know, maybe have their own opinion, which might not be like a positive thing. So
that was like the main thing, having somebody who was not biased, not judgmental. Yeah, and you could just offload.
Supportive.
Yeah. And it's hard when you're in, I think you said that brilliantly, like you will have friends and they'll be your best friends, but they're already biased because they know you.
Exactly.
So they've already made up their mind.
You could say something like, I don't know, some argument that you've had with your boyfriend or something. You might be in the wrong, but they might be supporting your decision because they're friends with you. But you might need to be told that you're in the wrong to be able to make the right decision. Yeah.
And is that what he gave you?
Yeah. So it would be honest and truthful, but then supportive as well, not like talking down to you, making you feel like any sort of a way for making these choices or whatever. So
yeah, and I think we used to work in education. You'll meet a lot of teachers who could always change the tone of what they said, and it has a different kind of impact.
Exactly.
And
yes,
sometimes
definitely.
it's not even just what you say, it's how you say it.
Uh-huh.
And it can be supportive or it can be quite negative and condescending.
Just within the tone of voice that you speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So you left probation and now your life it's got a platform now to start elevating from.
Yeah.
How did you get into tattooing from them? Because you haven't started tattooing, you've just started scratching.
Yeah, I was just like scratching, and then I moved to Nottingham. So my ex who I was quite toxic with, me and him kind of toyed from living in Nottingham and then Lincoln, like back and forth. And then when I left the YMCA in Lincoln, I moved to Nottingham to a house share. So I was surrounded by people who was coming in and out of the house, like other people who lived there and stuff. So I progressed with scratching in the house. I was also going to probation, so I was meeting people there. So then they would also want to get tattoos from me. So then from there, I think I was scratching in my house for like a year or year and a half. And then from there, I asked to shop on Alfton Road, THC it's called. It's like a smoking paraphernalia shop. And one of my friends used to tattoo in the back, and his girlfriend got pregnant, so he had to pull himself away from there, and I just thought, great opportunity, so I started tattooing from there. Did it for about 2 years from there.
2 years from there?
Yeah.
I didn't know you scratched for so long.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you ever have any horror stories from scratching, or did it always go all right?
Pretty much everyone. They were awful.
Really?
Yeah, they were awful. Only because I can see like my skill now. When I look back at the tattoos that I did when I was scratching, it was just, oh man.
You have to start somewhere, right?
But I'm so grateful to these people. Like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Those people that use your body.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. But I mean, they knew what they were doing. They were coming to somebody's bedroom while she's smoking cigarettes while I was just like tattooing you. There's never going to be, I don't know, it wasn't a good situation. So, yeah.
I previewed your Instagram. You're doing some amazing work. Amazing tattoos.
Thank you.
So I'm sure it's not scratching style nowadays.
No, definitely not. But I would say it took me 3 years or so to get to the point where I was like, I'm confident in what I'm doing. It took me a long time.
What's the biggest difference between, because you can probably draw something on a piece of paper and it can be spectacular, but then putting that onto skin, what's the biggest difference?
Okay, so there's quite a lot of answers to it, but like the shortest answer, I suppose, you're trying to get ink into like however many layers of skin into the epidermis level. So like if you put the ink into the skin directly straight, that's perfect. But if you go at an angle, then eventually the ink is going to bleed to one side. If you don't quite get it in there, it'll look like it's in there from the surface, but then underneath the skin, it's not there, so it's just going to pull itself out.
Right.
If you hang around, it's going to bleed out too much. There's so many different technical things, but basically you're trying to get a drawing underneath skin,
Right.
so that once it's healed, then like it stays underneath there. So
And it's quite
yeah, it's a tricky one. You got
Yeah.
people, they breathe, they move, they talk. Like tattooing somebody on their skin is completely different to paper. So.
You don't just put it on the desk and it stays
Yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly. You can't go off and have a couple. Well, I mean, you could, but like you can't. You're restricted to this person and their energy, sort of thing. You can't just go off and leave it and then come back to it tomorrow. They've paid for you to do that drawing within that amount of time. Yeah, there's so many different things that have.
It's an open wound as well.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. That's what I mean. It's on like a medical level as well. Almost, you're trying to tell people to heal a wound, but then concentrate on the drawing side of things as well. It's
You have to be very clued up.
yeah.
You have to know what you're doing. And you said it took you about 3 years to kind of get to where you are, like in terms of your style and your techniques. How long did it take you to gain the knowledge you needed to tattoo?
I would say that 3 year period. I've been tattooing now for 9 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like them first 3 years was me, I would say, still scratching. Even when I was in THC, I was charging quite cheap for my work. and I'd say like the knowledge was kind of sinking in after those 3 years. I would say even now to this day, I'm still massively learning. Still.
Really?
Like, yeah.
What, 9 years down the line?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
And the day that I stopped learning, I think that's probably the day that I should give up. Yeah, I think so. Like, you should always keep on wanting to learn. So.
Yeah, because there's nothing more for you now. It's just a living that you're going to do rather than learn any new skills to then practice. I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, from THC, was that daunting to take that opportunity?
Yeah.
Did you feel ready for it, or was you like, I'm not sure about this?
I felt ready. I felt 100% ready. I was just like, I'm going to go and I'm going to ask. I was absolutely petrified, but from the front, I think I kept my cool. But then I was just like, I really want to do this. I wanted to work in the back of a shop. From when I started scratching, I always said, like, one day I'm going to work in a shop, one day I'm going to tattoo at conventions. Since I knew that there was these things of tattoo conventions, I was like, one day I'm going to go to a tattoo convention. Yeah, they're huge.
How many have you been to now?
Don't even know.
Really?
Literally don't even know. Like, one year I had a convention every weekend, and some of them was abroad, like once a month. It would be, one of them was in like France, then I would come back and do like Warsaw, and then I would do London, and then I would do Belgium, like with a couple of weeks in between or something.
So you're just on the go all the time?
Yeah.
That's one thing I find quite interesting, like how many hours have you put into tattooing now to kind of master your trade or get to a good level? You can't just do a few tattoos and then go home and not think about it. You always have to be thinking about how you can develop your style, the knowledge that you need to gain, and then booking yourself on conventions, displaying your work, getting people interested in you.
Exactly.
So how many, you said 3 years, how long did it take you to get your own shop?
So, like, I think it was about 4 years or something, because my house and the YMCA was like a year and a half up to 2 years. And then when I was at THC, that was a couple of years. And then, so it's like, what, four years? And then I got my own shop. I'm going on to being in my shop for 5 years now.
So this will be your 5th year?
Yeah.
Wow.
February, it will be 5 years.
And you've gone from being an artist to now being a businesswoman. You're not just tattooing anymore, you have your own business, you have your own shop. Was that daunting? What was the biggest change from being in the back of a shop to
that's when I became like better in all aspects of my life. Yeah, being a business owner, because it was mine. It wasn't like I couldn't just slack. When I was at THC, sometimes I'd ring up and be like, oh, I've got a client coming, can you just tell them that I'll contact them or something. When I had my own shop, I had nobody to rely on other than myself, and I had to think about things that I didn't have to think about before, like doing my taxes, trying to like pay all my bills for the shop, getting like every single thing that you can think of. There's so many different aspects.
Marketing, social media, clients, customer services. You've gone from being somebody who's just escaped a 3-year sentence, living in a hostel, dropping out of an art degree, to now running your own successful business. And by the sounds of it, it's only because you wanted it. Yeah, exactly. And that's the way that it'll work. If you project something, then it will bring itself into a path. And it wasn't just like I clicked my fingers and I had this like nice fancy shop or whatever. When I first had my shop, it was completely empty. I just had a sofa and my bed and my tattoo stuff, and that was it in my shop. Like now I've got like this beautiful Chesterfield sofa and a little desk and what have you, and all my little trinkets and everything. And next year, hopefully, I'm pushing towards leaving this shop and getting a bigger shop. Are you?
So, yeah, that would be nice to be able to see when I get to that point. Yeah.
You said about projecting, and we had a conversation off camera, and I said that you lived in Newark, maybe you had limited opportunities. You said you already knew, you already felt it, you was already living it, like you was going to go on to do great things.
Yeah.
Have you been projecting that all the way through your life?
I think so. Like whenever I've wanted to do something, I've made it happen. The thing that changed when it became from negative to positive is like what things I wanted. I wanted negative things before, so obviously that's what I was bringing into my life. And then I started projecting like positive things when I got into the tattoo, and I realised that there was something that I actually really enjoyed doing. I was just jumping from job to job. I found this thing, and then like all of my energy went into putting myself into having my own shop. I knew it from the start. I said to myself, one day I'll have my own shop.
Yeah.
One day I'll do tattoo conventions. And then the day that I did a tattoo convention, I was driving back from it, and I was like, this was that day.
Actually happened.
I made it, yeah.
90% of startup businesses fail in their first year. So yours has been going 5 years. So most new businesses fail. So you did something that was extremely hard to do. But if you're passionate about it and you love it, it doesn't feel as hard as working a 9-to-5 job, right?
It didn't feel like a job at all. No,
No.
it never has done. I mean, the way that I look at it, I get paid to draw on people. The only thing that I've ever struggled with is certain people. That's
Really?
yeah, that's been the biggest thing. I
As
think.
in characters who come into your shop, or
Yeah.
right?
I've struggled in the past couple of years actually with I don't know, like I've kind of opened my eyes up to the authenticity of tattoos, and I like, we was having a little discussion about it earlier, I kind of like when people have tattoos that tell a bit of a story or something, or if that character can give me like great energy through their own stories. It doesn't necessarily have to be with the tattoos. But I've kind of been opened up to a slightly egotistical side of people, which I've struggled with, because I feel like the reason why they're getting the tattoos isn't a good, like, it's like, say, for fashion or something, because they've seen somebody else have it or something like that, which is fine if, like, I don't know, the person, I can see that they're pretty cool with themselves, but I see that they're trying to create something that isn't true to themselves. Like, I struggle with that. Do you know what I mean? But then on the flip side, I feel like I kind of give them good advice. So when people come to me, like, what I pride myself on is trying to give people bespoke tattoos. So I'll kind of try and fish as hard as I can, something that means something to them, so that I can project that through their tattoo for them, which I think kind of like defines a tattoo artist.
Does that make it easier for you to give them the tattoo?
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're giving them something that's actually...
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, definitely. Whereas like some people, because the thing is as well, it's difficult because my sister deals with all of my messages and things like that.
I know that.
Yeah, so like I feel like the relation is it's difficult because I can't get a feel for them or what they want to get before I have the opportunity to tattoo them, sort of thing.
Would you love it if people come into your shop and speak to you, or...?
Yeah, but then on the flip side, it like slightly like suffocates your energy when you're constantly being like, oh, I've got to answer messages and then I've got to talk to these people. So it's been really helpful for me to be able to like switch off, because like...
And just do your work.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're thinking about, oh, I've got to do this for this person and that for that person, like, it can be really difficult to switch off sometimes.
Yeah.
And then that has an impact on your art because you're not as like...
In the zone.
relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reason I got tattoos is that some of my tattoos have meaning, some of them don't, but they kind of provide me with kind of a wall of security. And like, maybe, I believe it's because I'm probably quite insecure of how I look. So I've had tattoos to kind of mask over that. Sometimes people don't see you straight away, they see your tattoos.
Yeah,
and it kind of is that kind of protection barrier. Somebody said that to me like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, that's
really noble of you to be so honest to say that.
You have to be,
It's really nice.
You have to be.
It's really nice because that's how I feel about it. And so that's why I try and like make suggestions or what have you to people. Yeah.
A lot of people are getting tattoos. Tattoos are becoming very, very popular.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first tattoo you got?
So, talking about authenticity, I got an outline of a love heart.
Smashed it.
Absolutely smashed it. This was at the shop that I was saying when I went to do an apprenticeship when I was in Newark. And I went with my friend who I'd done the design for. I was like, yeah, gonna be all cool, get myself a little love heart tattoo.
How old was you?
18.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not been covered over.
Yeah. I got my first tattoo at, I think, 15, 16. I got probably the one tattoo that has a lot of meaning. NFFC down there, because I was a big Forest fan. It's gone. Covered it up, so I had to cover it up. The guy says, all we can do schools, we can do roses. I didn't want either, but I was like, I've got to get this covered up.
Yeah.
I wore long sleeves for about 2-3 years.
Oh man.
Yeah, so then expensive to cover it up and whatnot.
That's the thing. That's why I like to give people the best knowledge as well, because like I've actually had people who have come and got tattoos off of me, and then they've come a couple of months later and I've covered the tattoos for them as well. Yeah, like
what an instant responsibility, like
and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done it, like the Rex's names or so.
What's your favourite tattoo that you have?
That's really tricky. Jimmy's got to be up there because I love him.
Yeah.
Jimmy. Got my sister's name in a key. She's my right hand man, so.
Is that the one I spoke to via message?
Yes.
Yeah, you two like a little tag team.
Yeah, it's my best mate.
Nice, that is.
Yeah, it's good.
And what's your favourite bit of artwork you've done so far?
Tattoo wise?
Yeah.
Maybe her leg, actually. I've done like a full leg sleeve on different conventions and stuff. I won an award with one of the tattoos that I did. So.
Really? Yeah. How did that come about?
So when you go to the conventions, they have like competitions for like best of black and grey, best of oriental, realism, flash work, whatever it is. And then you enter your piece into the competition, which usually has to be started and finished on that day or of the convention.
Yeah.
So you've got like 2 days to do it. This one particular one that we won was tattooing for 21 hours over the 2 days.
This one person?
My sister. Yeah, she's a beast.
So she's 9 hours, like 9 hours, well no, more than
9 hours and 11 hours.
Bloody hell, what, the whole day?
Yeah, well one day was 11 hours. They opened later, so we could just like stay and just tattoo, and then the other day we came in early, did 9 hours.
She is a beast.
She's a monster.
I don't
She's
think
a
I
monster.
could sit for that long.
I know, I couldn't, made me feel sick.
Yeah, well, big shout out to her, well done for
Yeah.
that. Was you quite proud of the award?
Yeah, I cried afterwards. It was massive. Like, it only means something really within the tattoo industry, but these awards are getting a lot more recognised now, and it's getting bigger. So some of the, like London Tobacco Docks Tattoo Convention, that's the biggest one in the UK and one of the biggest in the world.
Right.
If you win a competition there, you are then invited to a number of different conventions all over the world. You're asked to do interviews with, you're published in magazines, you're being given like sponsors, and like different inks will sponsor you so that you don't have to pay for it, and then your work is then publicised through their social media. So it's massive. These competitions are huge.
Real big platform to elevate yourself from.
Massively,
and
yeah,
inks and stuff costs money, so you get that all for free, you get sponsored.
Yeah. And then just the opportunity to be able to use decent inks as well.
And the recognition. Somebody says, you know what you've done there is good. And it's always nice to get that.
Yeah,
one thing I do want to talk about is the community, because like we said, it's usually quite a male-dominated industry, but it's forever changing, and you're seeing a lot more female tattooists now than ever before. Have you ever came up against, I don't want to say any kind of sexist comments or behaviours, but have you ever felt that you've had to work extra hard in an industry where it's male dominated to kind of get your work out there or prove yourself, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel the opposite. My personal experience, when I had that the apprenticeship that I was saying, where I didn't actually like tattoo or anything like that, I would say that that's the only experience that I had where it was like kind of chauvinistic, like you're kind of a bit of a trophy to the shop sort of thing.
Right.
And I see it, like, I'm quite lucky because I've always been a solo person, so I'm like just doing my own thing, whereas I've witnessed female tattooists in other male dominated shops where they're kind of like this little ornament of the shop, where they don't get respected to be given like proper work or whatever, just being given like little bits of crap just to do, like, I don't know, little names or whatever, and it's more their presence in the shop that is being utilised rather than their skills as an artist.
My friend, she worked at a shop, and she had to kind of leave, get her own shop to really get the opportunity to do her own work. She was always given kind of scraps.
Yeah,
Bits
exactly.
and bobs.
Yeah.
She couldn't develop, she couldn't progress. And she's got her own shop, she's become a brilliant artist, but them opportunities were slim at that time.
Yeah.
But I think it's credit to you being quite, like you say, like a solo flyer. You do your own thing, you get on with it.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
everybody has that.
Yeah.
Not
I
everybody
think
can do it.
once you become like completely secure with yourself, like this whole journey with tattooing has like developed me so much as a person. Like I will always be able to depend on myself because I know how much me and myself have been through, if that makes sense. Like if you give yourself all that love and devotion and time, care, like that is priceless, like definitely.
And touching back on times when you found yourself homeless for a short period of time or things didn't go your way in life, are they the kind of times which have allowed you to be able to trust yourself that you know I'm going to make it work, it's going to turn out all right?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm like, I've been in a lot of weird situations, this is cool. Just do it. That's what I always say to myself, just like, you have to do it. Like, whatever it is, if you say you're going to do it, just crack on, just get on with it.
Once you've stepped onto it, most of the time, it's a lot easier than you think it's going to be.
Exactly, yeah, it's just the anxiety beforehand. God, even with the tattooing as well, the amount of anxiety that I've had during these experiences of tattooing. Thankfully, for the past 5 years or whatever, it's brilliant, but those first few years, anybody who's wanting to go into the journey of tattooing, they need to just persevere with it. They're going to have an awful lot of anxiety and they're going to be petrified for hopefully not a great amount of time, but at least a year or so.
You've got to earn it.
Yeah.
So when you're saying you get anxiety, are you literally tattooing somebody and you're really getting anxiety about how it's going to turn out?
Not even how it's going to turn out. Like, obviously I was a scratcher, so I was like, is this even right? Yeah, for the first few years, yeah, it's scary stuff.
You said that you struggled with people more than anything, some of the people that you've met. Have you learnt a lot from kind of the individuals that have come to you for work, come to the shop, maybe you scratched on? Has that developed you as a person as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm like massively into like psychology and just like the way that people work and stuff. Being around people allows you to be able to see like how other people work, how it's working for them. And like when you meet people who are really inspiring as well, that gives you a positive influence. I've had people from every single different type of career that you can think of, like personal trainers or business owners. When I meet inspiring people like that, at the end of the day, I have like an actual buzz. I'm just like, that person was amazing. Like, they've gave me so much energy. So, yeah.
You feed off people's energy.
Yeah, and like, it's the same the other way around as well. I'm massively into energy and stuff as well. Since I've got into, learned that knowledge of like how you can charge your energy and how people can zap your energy as well. Once I've learned things like that, I've progressed a lot. I've tried to say no to certain people who want tattoos because I know that I can't be within their company for some people. It's like 7-8 hours that you have to sit in their company for. It's a long time. And if somebody's a negative influence on you, then I would rather have my peace of mind and knowing that I'm like in a really nice environment. My artwork shows because I feel more comfortable. Don't want to put myself in like a negative situation with somebody. Yeah.
What you're saying about meeting people that get you charged, to get you motivated. So I was thinking about doing something like this for a long period of time, and then I just decided to just do it. And I did it, okay? Yeah. And the first person I interviewed was a guy called Hallam. He just spoke in substance with me, so big shout out to Hallam. And ever since I met this guy, he's just on it. And just being around his energy inspires you to get on it. Yeah, somebody who pushes you and motivates you. I've been getting up at 5 a.m, I've been training harder. Just because I've met this person, I'm feeding off his energy. Yes. And it makes a massive difference. Yeah, somebody posted something the other day. It was like, if your friend always meets you and the first thing they say is negative, they are not your friend.
Exactly.
I don't want to be brought back down to that level.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. Like, I do yoga 7 a.m. every single morning. There's one person that I met actually a similar sort of thing. She was like, oh yeah, you can do it 6 days a week. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try it now then. Every single morning now, it's like my time that I devote to myself and my insanity of like...
It keeps you there.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
So does that, yoga is that one thing for you which allows you that time to work on yourself, set you up for the day?
Yeah. Gives you patience. You have to like hold certain poses which aren't the most comfortable for an extended period of time. And you have a lot of chattering going off in your mind at this point, and you have to like quieten that noise down. So that I've like brought it into my day-to-day life as well within the tattooing. So like I could get halfway through the day and then become impatient. Now I have so much more patience with things. I feel a lot more relaxed.
So this voice in your head, is it like, Lisa, what are you doing in this handstand? This is killing me. Is that what it's like?
What are you doing?
And then you have to stay there and beat it and be patient.
Yeah, the same as like when you're doing boxing, when you're doing something that's really difficult, say if you're holding a squat or something.
Plank.
Yeah, exactly. And your mind's like, oh my God, this is killing. When are we going to start? When are we going to finish? Like, instead of saying that, just like concentrate on breathing, relax.
Overcome it.
Yeah.
And I always revert back to training because there's times in training where you're having a conversation with yourself, like you said, the voice in your head. You're having a conversation in yourself, this is killing me, and we need to stop in a minute. And then somebody else responds in your head and saying, right, keep going, keep pushing it. It's like a little conversation, but
exactly.
This happens all the way through life. You will talk to yourself in your head a lot more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, like you're saying, being able to tame that voice. And you do the focusing on your breathing, but meeting your end objective and kind of pushing through and persevering.
Mm-hmm.
And for people looking from the outside, yoga looks like something that people might want to use to get more flexible. There's a lot more to it than that. But that's what I understand from talking to you right now.
Yeah. What I gained from yoga was, like the most important things that I gained from yoga was nothing physical. It was like all the things that has helped me develop with mentally and spiritually as well. Like being kind to myself, not putting myself through so much pressure, like trying to achieve all of these goals. Like when I first started doing yoga, I wanted to like do a handstand so I could get a really cool picture on Instagram or whatever. And then once I've done yoga and I've realised what it's actually about, is like to just accept yourself, whatever body you bring that day. One day you might not be able to achieve this handstand or whatever, and to be cool with it and to accept yourself. Yeah. You
said be kind to yourself. A lot of people beat themselves up.
Yes.
And I spoke to a person who I interviewed, a guy called Ian Peskett. If you get a chance, watch the interview. And he said the only things that we need to do is we need to eat, we need to sleep, and we need to get rid of the stuff that we've had. Everything else, your body takes care of them, and everything else is something that you choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you choose to go to work, and you should be more kind to yourself and pat yourself on the back saying, you know what, I did a good job today. And it's quite easy in the world that we live in to beat yourself up about what you should be doing or what you're not doing. But you're saying that yoga helps you be kind to yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. I would give myself all these goals, unachievable goals, which have helped me so much, and I still do them now, but rather than beat myself up if I don't achieve these goals now, I congratulate myself for the goals that I have met and still keep the other ones there. It's okay, like we're achieving them next. Recently I just bought a house, so I'm like doing a big renovation project on it, and like I'm going to work. I've taken on 2 apprentices. I have my renovation that I'm doing, my apprentices, like trying to hold down my other house at the same time, like all of these things. Like I'll give myself like all these goals and what have you. And I think the fact that I'm like, I have that sort of frame of mind and being able to deal with all of these things, because it could be like a massively stressful
for most people it is.
For all of those things, yeah.
You get stressed just from hearing about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But yeah, it definitely helps. So
it helps you keep that peace.
Yeah.
Meeting you today, you are really inspirational, and hearing your story, I know you've only shared small parts of it, but from where you once was to where you are now is amazing. It really is. Like, obviously, buying your house, setting your own business up, employing people, apprenticeships, giving back. So for anybody who's kind of wanting to kind of replicate your life or kind of walk on the same path that you have, how did you do it? What's the best bit of advice you can give them?
Keep on going forward. Fail forward. So make mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail, because everybody's going to fail, but fail forward. So the mistakes that you made then, it's not a bad thing if you make them same mistakes again, but just as long as they're not as detrimental as what they was then. Like, I don't know, somebody who is trying to quit smoking, they might have smoked like 40 last year. Halfway through the year, they might be smoking 20. Halfway through the year, they might be smoking 10. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as you're failing forward, you're failing in the right direction. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but just do it in the right direction. And just don't stop. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't do these things.
I've never heard failing forward before.
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense.
Fail forward. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. We all make mistakes. We're all human. Like, it's not a bad thing to make a mistake, but just do it in the right direction.
And what's one bit of advice that you know now that you wish you knew in your younger years, other than that?
Be playful as well. Like, it's life. Like, man, it's a good thing to just be playful. Like, don't take it so seriously.
You can experiment.
Yeah, just enjoy yourself. Don't like get put down by this society that puts you on such a massive pressure thing all the time. Like, just play. Like, people are so worried about everything, how they look, how they're gonna be, whatever. It's all a crap, just as long as you're having fun. Like, yeah, it's the most important thing.
And one piece of advice that I take from you, which you haven't directly said to me, is obviously you've got a massive passion for tattooing, and if you find your passion, it doesn't feel like work. And
exactly.
That is where you need to be.
Yeah. Don't do some dead end piece of crap just like to pay bills, to live in a house, to have a fancy car, to pay your bills, to go to work, to do the same thing over and over again. We're not robots. Like, take a risk and do something.
Even if it's not dead end and it's high end, if it's still
exactly, but dead end in that same like circle, just keep on going round and round. Yeah. Do something that makes you happy. Yeah.
Thank you very much today, Lisa. Honestly, like, it's been great talking to you, and
Thank you.
I hope people listening and take something from your story and your journey. I'm definitely going to take failing forward away with me and start using it. Thank you very much for today.
Amazing. You're welcome.
Have you back anytime.
Cool. Thank you.
Sweet.